Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luke Townsend. I'm starting a new sports talk show series. So today is October 31st. So the topics we're going to cover is the playoff rankings that are coming out today, Game 6 of the World Series is happening today, and the trade deadline in the NFL. So the first thing is the college football playoff rankings. Now, I have my top 4 as Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. And then 5 Clemson, 6 Oklahoma, 7 Wisconsin, and 8 Penn State. Now, I'll tell you why I have Georgia over Alabama is because Georgia, they've shown me that they are a better football team than Alabama. I feel like they played a tougher schedule, beating Notre Dame, who I have in my top 4 as number 3, by 1 point on the road. They demolished Tennessee. They beat Vanderbilt both on the road. They handled Missouri pretty easily at home, and they just demolished Florida. Now, I'm not saying Alabama's not good, and I'm not saying Alabama's not worthy of being number 1, which I'd say they are, but Alabama's only marquee win of the year is Florida State, neutral site, close to home, I might add, and they only beat them 24-7, and Florida State is a sub-500 team at 2-5 on the year this year, I believe. So why they're number 1 and 2. Now, the next topic is, will there ever be 2 SECs or 2 Big Ten teams in this year? Now, I don't believe that there will be 2 Big Ten teams in. I think Ohio State has edged out Penn State unless Ohio State loses one of its last 4 games. Ohio State has Iowa on the road this week. Then they have home versus Michigan State. And then they have home versus Illinois. And then they head to the Big House to play Michigan. And that's always a good game. Unless Ohio State drops 2 of those games, Penn State will not make the Big Ten championship game. However, there have been one-loss teams, non-conference champions. Ohio State last year that made the Big Ten, or that made the college football playoffs, So it is possible that if Ohio State loses one of their next 4 games and still wins the Big Ten, Penn State could get in over them, seeing how their loss to Ohio State was on the road and by 1 point. Why don't I have Oklahoma over Ohio State? Because I feel Ohio State is a better team at this point in the season. Oklahoma did have a loss to Iowa State, and that's why I don't have them in, because at the time, Iowa State wasn't exactly a good football team. Now, Iowa State has gone on to beat Oklahoma, and they've gone on to beat TCU. Now, Oklahoma does have a tough schedule coming up. They are at Oklahoma State this weekend, the 4th, and I feel like they are underdogs in that game because Oklahoma State is also a top team. I feel like Oklahoma will pull that game out, though, however, and if Oklahoma can win out, we'll see. And then Clemson, they only lost to Syracuse without their starting quarterback. I'm not going to hate on them too much for that. It was in Syracuse. So I have them at number 5. Now, Wisconsin is undefeated. Everybody's probably thinking, well, why isn't Wisconsin going to be there? Who have they played? Let me read you Wisconsin's schedule. Utah State, Florida Atlantic, BYU, Northwestern, and they barely beat Northwestern. Now, Northwestern did just go in and beat Michigan State. At Nebraska, they beat them. Purdue, they only beat them by 8. Maryland, Illinois, and they have Indiana coming up, and then they have Iowa, Michigan, and Minnesota. Now, I don't think they'll lose to Indiana this week. However, I think at Iowa they'll be played close, and versus Michigan at home they will play them close. I think Iowa's going to lose, and I think Michigan's going to win, and that'll knock Wisconsin out of the playoff picture. Because they'll have 1 loss, and then they're going to go. They're going to play in the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State, and I think Ohio State will probably beat them. Now, Penn State, I'm not counting them out. Like I said earlier, 1 loss to Ohio State. If Ohio State falls, they could be a 1-loss non-conference champion. 2 teams in from the SEC, Georgia, Alabama. The only way I think this happens is if Alabama beats Georgia, and they can't beat them handily. It's got to be within a score. If it's close, last possession game, I think they could both get in. But I don't think Georgia will get in, and Alabama will get in if Georgia wins. If Georgia beats Alabama by a score or more, Alabama's got a weak schedule. Georgia's played a good schedule. They're good enough to be the number 1 overall team in the country. I think Georgia gets in. I think Notre Dame gets in. I think Ohio State gets in. And then you have the question, will Penn State get in? Will Clemson get in? Will Oklahoma get in? That's all yet to be decided in the last 4 weeks of this college football season. Is there a possibility for 2 Big Ten teams to be in? I don't think so. I think Ohio State is either in or it's going to be Penn State, and the only way Penn State, like I said earlier, is Ohio State loses. If Ohio State wins the Big Ten championship game, they will be in. One-loss champion in. You're not going to have, from the same conference, in my opinion, a one-loss champion and a one-loss non-champion in the playoffs. So I think the only conference really getting in, two teams, could be the SEC. So the next topic is going to be the World Series Game 6. We know that's happening tonight in Los Angeles, 8:20. First pitch, we have Rich Hill versus Justin Verlander. Now, Rich Hill and Verlander pitched against each other in Game 2 in Los Angeles. Now, Rich Hill only made it 4 innings, gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run, walked 3, and struck out 7. And then we got Verlander, who pitched very well. 6 innings, 2 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs. Gave up 2 home runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. I would say that's very well, like I just said, but I would say that, that's respectable, 3 runs. Now, and Verlander got traded from the Tigers to the Astros. In his 5 games pitched with the Astros, he's let up 4 earned runs, struck out 43, and has 5 wins. So he is undefeated as an Astros pitcher. So, he got the win in Los Angeles the last time they played. My prediction for tonight's game is Justin Verlander comes out in Los Angeles, shuts everybody down. Houston wins a close one, 4-3 in 9 innings. No extra innings tonight. Houston takes it, 4-2, wins the World Series. So then we got our probable starting lineups for the Dodgers. And then for the Astros, we'll start with the Astros because they'll hit first. Most likely we're going to see Springer in center field, Bregman in third base, Altuve at second base, Correa shortstop hitting cleanoff, Gurriel at first base, McCann catching, Gonzalez in left field, and Reddick in right field. Okay, so I took a pause there because it's in Los Angeles, so there should... Okay, there's your 8. I'm sorry, there's your 8 with Verlander hitting in the 9 hole. And then you have, on the other side, you have Chris Taylor at center field, Corey Seager at shortstop, Turner at third, Bellinger at first, Puig in right, Peterson in left, Forsythe at second base, and Barnes behind the plate with Rich Hill hitting in the 9 hole. Like I said earlier, I think the Astros pull this one out in a close one, take the series 4-2. Justin Verlander shuts them down tonight. The bullpen may give up 1 or 2 runs here and there, and I think the Astros have figured out the Dodgers pitching, and I think they figured out the Dodgers bullpen, seeing how they've been able to put up a majority of their runs against the bullpen. Granted, they did put up 4 or 5 against Kershaw, I don't remember exactly. So, the NFL trade deadline. Today we saw Jay Ajayi go to the Eagles, and just recently we saw the Carolina Panthers trade away Devin Funchess to the Buffalo Bills. Now, Ajayi in Philadelphia, I don't think it's a good fit for him. They have Blunt. I think Blunt's going to be the starter. I don't think Ajayi is going to see many touches unless they plan to get rid of Blunt. Now, I don't see them getting rid of Blunt and starting Ajayi. However, they are 7-1, so having 2 good backs is good, especially in the National Football League. Now, Funchess to Buffalo is interesting. Tyrod Taylor, I feel like he's a good quarterback. He can move easily, he can roll around. So if he can find Funchess deep, I think they'll be a good combination. I don't know if it's enough to really kickstart their season and get them going. And then one team that you're going to find out that I like the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm a little upset they didn't make a move at the deadline. Now, I would have liked to see them go out and get an offensive lineman, seeing how Andy Dalton's feeling a lot of pressure, especially on third down when he gets sacked the majority of the times. However, they did not go out and get anybody. Okay, so now that we're on the topic of NFL and trade deadline, Patriots traded away their quarterback last night to the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo. And everybody has jumped to the conclusion that means Colin Kaepernick is going to get signed by the Patriots. I don't think Colin Kaepernick gets signed by the Patriots. I don't think Belichick will do that. I think he's smart enough to not sign Colin Kaepernick because there'd just be an uproar in the NFL and among the NFL fan base that don't want to see Colin Kaepernick in and who don't want to see these protests. I personally don't think Colin Kaepernick will ever be on an NFL roster again, even though people are saying he'll be on one in the next few weeks. I don't see him being on an NFL roster anytime soon or in the near future. So, I mean, Colin Kaepernick, I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He led his team to the Super Bowl. I just think he made some dumb decisions in his life. And also, he's with this girl who keeps tweeting, blew him the job with the Ravens, and probably blew him a job with another few teams. I don't know. I just don't think Colin Kaepernick will make it on another NFL roster this season or the next few seasons. I think his career in the NFL is done. He did have a good career while it lasted. He just made some stupid decisions, and that's cost him. Now, Ezekiel Elliott's got suspended 6 games. Big for the Cowboys, won't be back till week 14. This could be big for them because they'll have him for 14, 15, 16, and 17, I believe, because, yeah, they'll have him 14, 15, 16, 17. So that's the last 4 games of the year. They could be making a push for the playoffs. And especially when you have a good tailback or running back like Ezekiel Elliott, it's going to help your offense. Now, Dak Prescott should be able to do a lot on his own, seeing how he's got Dez Bryant catching the ball. And they really need to get Dez Bryant the ball more. He hasn't been touching the ball as much as he needs to. He's a better receiver than people make him out to be. He's not old. He's not washed up. He's not any of that. I think Dak and Dez, with Zeke, they were having a good season. They beat the Redskins pretty easily this past Sunday. Now, I think they will miss Zeke, having Alfred Morris in the backfield. I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But in other news, with the trade deadline in the NFL, Jarvis Landry's hinting out a trade, and then Odell Beckham is seconding that, trying to get him to New York. Now, you may not know, but Odell and Jarvis Landry were teammates at LSU. They were a deadly combo because you could have one on the left, one on the right, and they could just both go deep, and you wouldn't know which one to get. Now, Jarvis Landry is a good receiver with a not-so-good quarterback, and Miami with Cutler or Matt Moore, I believe, is their quarterback now. I feel like if he has a decent quarterback in Eli Manning, he will be able to really rise to the occasion of whatever game he's put in. I think they can work him in the rotation at receiver, and then you got your catching tight end, Evan Ingram, who's been showing up recently. I think they will be good. And then next year, if they can keep Jarvis, they'll have Odell back, and they will really be a Super Bowl team if they can keep everybody healthy. That's the key. Have to keep everybody healthy, and they will be a good team. So that's all I have for you today. This is the first of many, many, many talk shows. We will have guest speakers. We will have all of that. This is first of many. This is just to get a feel for everything. So we have our top 4, Georgia, Bama, Notre Dame, OSU. Those will come out later tonight. Astros win Game 6, go up in win the series 4-2. Trade deadline and Colin Kaepernick is what we've talked about today. Now this will be posted on YouTube. You can leave comments, questions, anything you want me to talk about, all that, and we will see you tomorrow.